Hi, who am I here with today?
This is Seth Polansky. I'm the Director of Media Services for the Arizona Interscholastic Association.
Hi, Seth. So I wanted to ask you, how did the AIA communicate the rationale behind excluding 4A and 5A football teams from the open divisions of publics and schools?
Well, that was actually a decision that the 4A and 5A schools decided for themselves. They wanted to pull themselves out of the open. First, it was the 4A because they realized when they would go up against 6A teams, games weren't kind of close. And for the first few years of the open division, none of the 4A teams won a single game in the tournament. So they thought for, maybe for some preservation, maybe it could be injury, you could get some injuries when you go up against the bigger schools, the ones with bigger rosters. So they thought, okay, you know what, let's just stick to the 4A, let's do that. And so they kept themselves in the 4A tournament. Then a season later, the 5A kind of followed suit. Now, the 5A really didn't have that much better luck in the playoffs as well. They only won like one or two games in the open division in the whole history of the tournament. So they thought, you know what, let's just stick with ourselves too. Let's stay in 5A and let's leave the open division for the 6A. So that's how it kind of came to be with the conferences themselves deciding this and pulling themselves out of the open division.
And what challenges did the AIA face in managing the narrative or public response to this decision?
Well, it wasn't so much from the 4A and 5A standpoint because the schools and the fans and the communities of those conferences, they understood, kind of what was going on. What we were hearing from is, well, why still have the open tournament if it's only 6A teams? And what we've been saying is there are destination schools in 6A. Those schools that you see at the top year after year after year. So we do still want to take those teams out of kind of everything, give them their own tournament, let them shine, let them be the best of the best, and then the rest of the 6A, the ones that you don't get a lot of transfers, the ones that may rely on certain times of the year, the student population, because of work of their families or whatnot, they can play their own tournament where the parity is not as great. So you'll have kind of even competition in the 6A bracket and then even competition in the open division bracket.
Was there any concern about how this change might be perceived as inequitable or exclusionary?
No, because the decision came from within the conferences for 4A and 5A, it wasn't exclusionary because it wasn't the AIA or the AIA executive board forcing this decision on those conferences. It came from the inside. So everybody understood, and so some of the teams may feel like, oh, why do the 6A teams now get their own extra tournament? That's pretty much all it is. But again, it goes back to that, notion that there are destination schools and there are those 6A teams that are just kind of above the others. And so I think everyone they understood the rationale of the 4 and 5A pulling out, but we're still getting the questions about why still the open for the 6A? And that's what we say. We say, hey, look, there's going to be your Bashes and your Liberties and your Chandlers are always going to be at the top. We want them to have a seat at their table. And then 6A, give them their due too. There's other good teams in 6A that definitely deserve recognition and possibly a trophy at that level.
And how does AIA ensure transparency in controversial how does the AIA ensure transparency in controversial decisions like this one?
Well, our board meetings are always open. So these decisions are always made in our executive board meetings. They're posted publicly. The public is allowed to attend, and even if no one can come, the minutes of the meeting are publicly posted on our website afterwards. So all the decisions are there. If anyone has a problem with any of the decisions, not to contact the AIA directly, but the representatives of their member schools. The AIA works for and with the member schools. So if there's anything regarding a policy that's upcoming for a board meeting or anything that had to do from a board meeting, everyone should just contact their school representative and then they would contact the AIA and things would be resolved that way.
What strategies were used to make sure 4A and 5A schools felt heard during this decision-making process?
Well, we left the decision completely up to them. So, I mean, they had the say in it. It was their decision. So, and since the AI works for the member schools, the 4A conference, the 5A conference, they came to the board and said, we don't want to be part of the Open anymore. We want to just have our own tournament. And so, hey, if you want to do that, like I said, we work for the schools. The schools wanted that. we'll let them have that. And now, because of the way the reclassification is, because football is reclassified, the conference is reclassified every 2 years. So this is the first year of a 2-year block. There are a lot more schools in 4A and 5A now, which means there's much more teams in the playoffs. So before we had a 16-team playoff, a straight 16-team bracket done by PowerPoints, 1 through 16. Now there's 24. So your top 8 will get a bye, and then your 9 through 24 will play a first round. Those will then go up into the second round and play those 8 teams that had the bye, and then we're down to 16 at that point.
And for my final question, could the AIA's communication approach for this issue serve as a model for future divisional or eligibility adjustments?
No, we did everything we normally do. Everything goes through our regular channels. It's shared, it's shared on our website. Like I said, the board meetings are open. So this is standard procedure for how we do things. Just any decisions like this that are made, we don't go above and beyond, by putting something on social media or sending out via press release to the statewide media, unless it's something that's going to be totally earth-shattering. So yeah, press releases actually did go out for the 4A and 5A decisions on pulling out of the open division. That was something. But anything that's part of a regular board meeting. So let's say we're talking about something else besides the 4A and 5A thing, like a student eligibility question, and just say we had hardship hearings in our office, students who are appealing a decision where they had to sit out a portion of the season because of a transfer or some other rule. Some of those meetings were today. Those are things we don't normally send out because they're just handled through our normal channels. Something like this, yeah, we did send out through our normal channels, through our email distribution system, and through social media. People got the message, and so we. Anytime we have anything, we will decide how big it is and how big to send it out, blow it out to the public.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.